right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Good morning to everybody that is logged in. If you log in late, this is going to be recorded and we'll make it available for you after the webinar. Welcome to our Understanding the 990T and Schedule A reporting webinar. My name is Nikita. I am the product manager for Tax990 and I will be reviewing this webinar with you today. If you have any questions during the presentation, please add them to the chat and Aubrey will address them along the way. We will also have a live Q&A opportunity throughout the presentation. We do want to mention we are not tax advisors. We will not be providing specific tax advice. We will purely be discussing IRS e-file requirements and the process for e-filing. So for specific tax questions, please contact a tax professional. Again, this webinar will be recorded and available at tax990.com after the presentation. We will also send out an email with the recording to the email address you used to register for the webinar. During the webinar, we're going to talk about the 990 form and how it relates to the 990T. Who should file a 990T? Schedule A associated with the 990T, the business codes, and how to file with an IRS authorized e-file provider. And then as mentioned, we'll have a Q&A towards the end. So let's go ahead and just jump right in. So first off, we're going to talk about what is a 990 form. A 990 series return is a return filed by a nonprofit organization annually to report activities and financial information to the IRS. The 990 series forms consist of the 990N, the 990EZ, the 990, and the 990PF. An organization files one of the 4 forms annually based on their financial and exempt status. The 990 series return is filed separately from the 990T form. The 990N is for an organization with $50,000 or less in gross receipts. The 990EZ is for an organization with gross receipts less than $200,000 and total assets at the end of the year less than $500,000. The 990 form is for an organization with gross receipts greater than or equal to $200,000 or total assets greater than or equal to $500,000 at the end of the tax year. And the 990PF is for an organization recognized as a private foundation. The Form 990T is used to calculate and report unrelated business income of an organization to the IRS during the tax year. The return must also be filed annually with the IRS in addition to the annual 990 series return. If an organization reports a gross income amount of $1,000 or more from unrelated business income for the tax year on their 990 series return, they are likely required to file a 990T form as well. Form 990T consists of 5 different parts, and each part requires you to report details regarding the unrelated business income of your organization and tax payments related to that. An example of a reportable unrelated business income could be the investment income from debt-financed property unrelated to the organization's charitable purpose and certain rents. In order to complete a 990T, you should have all of the following information: the name of the organization, the address and EIN, details about the unrelated business income, tax calculations, tax dues and payments, other activities of the organization, and the organization's group exemption number if applicable. If you are a disregarded entity and domestic or foreign organization exempt under Section 501A, Section 529A, or Section 529AA, that received $1,000 or more of gross income from unrelated business, you may be required to file Form 990T. The 990T is also used to report proxy tax liability, claim a refund of income tax paid by a regulated investment company or real estate investment trust on undistributed long-term capital gain, to request credit for certain federal excise taxes paid or for small employer health insurance premiums paid, and to report unrelated business income tax on reinsurance entities. Certain organizations such as employee trusts, IRAs, Roth IRAs, and covered out ESAs also use the 990T to report unrelated business income. When filing a 990T electronically, you'll use Schedule A to report the unrelated trade or business. Your organization should complete a separate Schedule A for each unrelated trade or business income item or code. If you have multiple items under the same code, they can be combined under one Schedule A. The purpose of Schedule A is to report and explain income and allowable deductions for each separate unrelated business. A business code is a 6-digit number that is used to categorize the type of unrelated business income or trade. The IRS form instructions include an extensive list of business code categories. On each Schedule A, enter the business activity code that best describes the organization's unrelated trade or business reported on that Schedule A. Identify each separate trade or business that most accurately describes the unrelated trade or business based on the more specific code. If you're reporting multiple categories of business codes, you can complete a separate Schedule A for each category. If you're reporting multiple amounts under the same category, you can combine your information on one Schedule A. It's not advised to use the same code across multiple Schedule A's. This list that I have here on the presentation is available on the IRS database, and you can access that through you can access the same list through your Tax990 account 990T form as well. And we can take a look at that and where to access that here in a little bit. All 990 series return deadlines are based on the organization's tax year. If an organization is completing a 990T on behalf of their organization, in addition to the 990 series return, the deadline to file is the 15th day of the 5th month following the end of the organization's tax year. So that means if you're filing a 990 and a 990T, both forms have to be filed by the 15th of the month, on the 5th month following the tax year end. For certain organizations such as employees trusts, IRAs, Roth IRAs, covered out ESAs, the 990T is due by the 15th day of the 4th month after the end of the tax period. So right now we're focusing on the November 15th deadline for tax-exempt organizations. So if the organization had a July 1st through June 30th tax year, the deadline would be November 15th to file both the 990 and the 990T form. If your deadline falls on a weekend or federal holiday, the deadline is moved to the next business day. For example, this upcoming October 15th deadline falls on a Sunday, so the new deadline is October 16th. Most organizations have either a calendar tax year that runs from January 1st to December 30th, or 31st, I'm sorry, or fiscal tax year that runs from July 1st through June 30th. However, a fiscal tax year can be any 12-month time frame other than January 1st through December 31st. If you're short on time, you're concerned you won't be able to complete the returns on or prior to your deadline, you can file an 8868 extension form to apply for a 6-month deadline extension on both the 990 and the 990T, but the extension does have to be completed on or prior to your original deadline. If you do have a November 15th deadline, you can start those forms at any time. We highly encourage you to go ahead and get them started now because they're both pretty lengthy forms. Filing with Tax990. Tax990 is a market-leading IRS authorized e-file provider with over a decade of experience e-filing tax forms. So when you file with Tax990, we provide you with excellent live customer support. We have competitive pricing and options to file for previous tax years, as well as complete amended returns. Since the IRS has mandated e-filing, Tax990 is the go-to solution for electronically filing your annual 990 series and 990T forms. I do want to again mention that we aren't able to provide direct tax advice. So if you have specific questions on what should be reported, on what qualifies as unrelated business income, what codes, those types of things, you would need to speak with an accountant or the IRS directly for confirmation on what to report. Or you can review the IRS e-file instructions at irs.gov for that information. We're not able to tell you specifically what you should be reporting. We're just going to jump into talking a little bit about some of the key features that Tax990 offers when you e-file with Tax990, and then we're going to go into the website and look at a 990T together to further explain some of the options, some of the reporting information, and a couple other features. So Tax990 performs an internal audit after you've completed the return. This verifies that the requirements from the IRS form instructions have been met. The audit helps verify that your calculations are accurate and necessary schedules are generated. We provide auto calculations, which helps remove the guesswork from filing by calculating several areas of the return. For example, when you input all of your different categories of revenue, the total revenue will be calculated accordingly, as well as if you have multiple Schedule A's, it's going to pull all of the values of that Schedule A and report it on the 990T form. So you don't have to bounce back and forth trying to make sure your calculations are correct. We do that part for you. In the case that your return's rejected by the IRS, Tax990 provides the reason for the IRS rejection and allows you to resolve and retransmit the return at no additional cost. For example, if the IRS rejected your return because the tax period provided does not match the IRS database, you'll be able to edit that tax period and retransmit that form. It's important to know if your return was accepted, so once the IRS provides a status update, you'll receive an email with the acceptance notice, and the IRS acceptance letter will be available in your account for your records. So you always are aware of what has been completed and what you have left to complete. When filing from year to year, a lot of your information remains the same, so we provide the ability to transfer information directly from a prior year. And when filing consecutive years on like the 990 forms, the organization information, the public charity status, books are in the care of details, list of officers, prior year revenue and expenses, all of those things can be transferred to the current year return from a prior year. It is optional, that feature, so if information changes or you don't want to use that, you can bypass that or edit it once you've transferred. Our schedules are automatically included, so on the 990 form, based on how you respond to the forms themselves, the schedules will generate automatically for you. On the 990T form, the internal audit will not allow you to proceed with the return until you've attached a Schedule A, and those will automatically generate for you to complete. So I just want to take a quick look inside the application and show you guys a couple of features that we offer with filing the 990T. Let me just get that pulled up. Okay. Let me see if I can just zoom this a little bit so you guys can see it a little better. There we go. So as I mentioned, we offer the 990T for the current and 2 prior years. It is only available in a form-based option. which means it looks more similar to the PDF IRS form, and you're going to fill it out line by line. As you can see here, this section automatically populates based on your organization information. So it's going to auto-populate your address, organization name, so on and so forth. And then you'll just work through the form and complete it line by line. These gray boxes are the auto calculations, as I mentioned earlier. So when you first start the form, these will all be blank, and you will not be able to edit them until you add your Schedule A, and then it will pull directly from your Schedule A or multiple Schedule A's into this section. These yellow fields are all areas that you will be able to edit or add information. If it has a yellow field and a green plus sign, you can add your values or additional information using that green plus option, which is just more of a description that will show up on the statement page. As you can see, there's 2 pages to the 990T itself, and then your statement pages. Your statement pages are going to be any information that you provide using those green plus signs that I mentioned here. Those will be reported on a statement page. As you scroll down, you can add your Schedule A. As I mentioned, you cannot complete a 990T form without adding a Schedule A. You can add multiple Schedule A's. If you add them by mistake, you can also delete them. So I've already got a couple of them set up here. As you can see, I have Schedule A 1 of 2. If I scroll down, you can see Schedule A 2 of 2. That means I have 2 Schedule A's currently in progress on my form. When we open up this Schedule A, you'll have all of the information that you can report. So as I mentioned, the Unrelated Business Activity Code, and then the description of the business code. If you're unsure of what that would be, you can navigate to the form instructions. And this is 990T form instructions. So then we're just going to find the business code line item here and navigate to that page, and you'll see all of the different codes available. So it's important that you take some time to do some research and determine which one best describes the information you're reporting. On the Schedule A, when you add information using the green plus sign, it will show up on the Schedule A statement page down here at the bottom. So as I mentioned, our total from Schedule A is going to move over and report to the 990T itself. So based on the information we provide here in Part 1 of Schedule A, all of this information will auto-calculate, and it'll report back on page 1 of the 990T form. Now we're going to look at the second Schedule A that I have here, and I have the same activity code. And because I have the same activity code, we're going to get an error on our form. Oh, it's asking us. So as I mentioned with the internal audit, if you miss anything, it's going to catch it in the internal audit and allow us to fix it. So this is saying we forgot to provide a type of organization. So we're going to just go ahead and fix that. Now it's stating that the business activity code is the same. So as I mentioned, we can remove one of those Schedule A forms so that we don't have multiple business codes reported on multiple different Schedule A's. So we're going to scroll down here and delete Schedule A 2 of 2. So if you come across that error, just check your business activity code on your multiple Schedule A's. Oftentimes we speak to clients that just accidentally add additional Schedule A's that aren't necessary. So make sure you have the appropriate amount, the correct information listed, and remove any unnecessary information. So once we've removed that additional Schedule A, we don't have any additional errors. and all of the information is completed. As you can see here, we also provide the Schedule D if that's something that's required by your organization, and that's going to auto-generate just like the schedules do, the Schedule A will, for you to complete. If you're required to do the 1120 Schedule D, it will show up there for you, and you won't be able to proceed with your return until that's completed. Just to review a couple other things that I have here, again, we looked at this a minute ago, but that's going to tell us what audits we have prior to transmitting. We've got the form instructions here as well, so if you have questions along the way or you're not sure what is reportable or how to report it, you can look at the form instructions. We have information. If you see weird little symbols on your form, this is going to explain what those symbols are and what to do with those. And then just a different setting option on how you view your form, if you want it a little bit larger or a little bit smaller. Tax990 does provide the PDF of the form that you can review along the way. And this is just going to download to your computer as a PDF document, and it's going to look just like the IRS form. So if you're not sure how it looks or what's reported, or you want to just cross-reference or check something, or even print it and share it with someone else prior to transmitting, you can do that. Once we've completed the whole return, we'll go ahead and save and continue to audit. Now with the 990T, there is an option to have, there is the likelihood that you owe the IRS money. In that case, you will show here what taxes are due based off the information reported on your form, and you can indicate how you intend to pay the IRS. Now, I want to be very specific on this. Tax990 does not process payments to the IRS directly. You're just indicating how you intend to pay the IRS. If you choose EFTPS, this typically means you have an EFTPS account and you can pay directly through that. If you choose to pay by credit or debit card, you are accepting responsibility to pay the IRS via credit or debit, but you're not paying the IRS here and now by making this selection. You're telling the IRS how you intend to pay this tax due, and then you have to go to irs.gov and complete that process. Then we're just going to go through a detailed summary so you can quickly review the information reported and confirm its accuracy. It's going to go through one more final audit prior to transmitting. If anything else comes up, it'll be shown here, and you can click Fix Error and navigate back to the form to fix that. Then you're going to go ahead and complete the processing fee and transmit your return. Sorry, one moment, my computer's just taking a minute. Sorry about that. So once we process our payment for the form, we'll have the option to share the form with other members of the organization or board members, or if you want an accountant to review it, things like that. So you can either share electronically, which means you provide the email address of the individual, they get a link to access the form, and they can review the PDF of the form. Or you share manually, which means you really can just continue filing. You can print a copy if you need to and just show it to an individual manually. So for today's purpose, we're just going to go ahead and share manually so we can proceed. You're gonna create a 5-digit PIN of your choosing. This is not something that you have to remember. It's not something that the IRS has provided you. It's a 5-digit PIN of your choice, and you click to transmit to the IRS. Once you transmit, you'll get a congratulations page, just indicating that it has been transmitted. Now, as I mentioned, once the IRS accepts the form, you'll be notified via email, and you'll have an acceptance letter available in your account. Now this account, I don't have any, I don't have the acceptance letter for the 990T, but I can show you the acceptance letter for the 990EZ I have here. So when you log in, you'll just hover over this little icon and you can view and download that acceptance letter. As you can see here, the return status, this one's been transmitted, and this will change when the IRS updates it. This one's been paid for but has not transmitted, and if it's been rejected, it'll say rejected here, and when you click on it, you'll be able to view the reason for rejection. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do a quick Q&A. If you have questions, go ahead, throw them in the chat, and we can answer them along the way. We can answer them live here during the webinar. I'll give you guys just a minute to add your questions. For information on our filing fees, you can go to tax990.com and visit the pricing page, and that'll give you an idea of what each form is going to cost. There are no additional fees associated with that, so what you see is what you get unless you opt for a text alert when your form's been accepted. Otherwise, there are no hidden fees, no subscription fees. You only pay for the forms that you file when you file them. Leah is wondering if we have the option to apply for extensions of time to pay or just to file. We only have an extension option for time to file, not time to pay. You would have to contact the IRS for that. Christine is wondering about the electronic signature option. So with Tax990 and the IRS e-file mandate, the e-signature is not required if you're filing on behalf of your organization. If you are filing as an organization member, you don't have to sign the forms electronically. You just have to type your name in as the preparer and your title. There's no physical signature required. If you're a paid preparer completing the forms for an organization, you'll have the option to complete an 8453 TE form, which is just a signature form that you can send to your client. They can e-sign it and send it back to you. And we do have some helpful videos on that on our YouTube channel if you are looking for that information. Joseph is wondering if the extended due dates for the 990 and 990T are the same. When you apply for an 8868 extension form, you can indicate that you're applying for an extension for the 990 and the 990T and transmit it for both those forms. If you transmit the form for just the 990, it wouldn't qualify for the 990T. So you do have to do an extension for both those forms. We do not, Crystal, we do not have the 926 form available with Tax990. John, the 990T has been around for many years. However, it's just recently been released in an e-file format about 3 years ago. And you can backfile all 3 of those years electronically with Tax990 if necessary. The Schedule D on the 990T form is meant to report capital gains and losses of information related to capital gains and losses. Charles, the only option that the IRS accepts right now for processing payments associated with the 990T are EFTPS and credit or debit. So with Tax990, you can only indicate one of those 2 options for paying taxes due. We do not have the option to register via Tax990 for an EFTPS account. You would have to do that through irs.gov or EFTPS. Okay, so I think questions are really slowing down, so we'll go ahead and move on here. We're just about finished up, and I appreciate all those really great questions. If you have anything additional as far as questions or concerns or comments, or if you have an account that you're just not sure what to do next on or an error, you can absolutely reach out to us personally, and we can look up your account and assist you one-on-one. So our support team is available Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. We have email, phone, and chat support available. As the November 15th deadline approaches, our support hours will be extended a little bit, so we'll be here a little bit later into the evening when that gets closer. As I mentioned, if you have specific questions on your Tax990 account or a form, please give us a call. We'll be happy to assist you with that. We have a great YouTube and blog channel with a lot of helpful information with step-by-step instructions, guides. We break down the different schedules, different parts of forms, things like that. So please take a look at those and kind of review that content for any additional helpful advice. We have several other webinars coming up in our educational series, and you can register for those now at tax990.com/webinars. The next one in a couple weeks, we're going to talk about just very commonly asked questions regarding the 990 series forms, regarding an organization, the process of setting up an organization or changing things within the organization. Just a lot of common questions that we get and that are searched. We're on the 24th, we're going to talk about the 990 PF and who qualifies for that form. We're going to look at the 990 in on November 2nd and walk through the very quick process of completing that. And then right before the big November 15th deadline, we're going to have a live Q&A where we can just answer questions and have conversations live. Like I mentioned, if you guys do have any other questions, please reach out to us, email, phone, and chat support. We are available. Thank you for attending our webinar today. I hope it was helpful for you, and check out the upcoming webinars over the next couple weeks. Otherwise, you guys have a great rest of your week.